Hey all, Andrew here. It's time for another edition of Lying Lefties. And yeah, there's been no shortage of content for this video. So we're going to start off with Christina Freeland. She's been pretty quiet this election. I just saw a hilarious picture of her most recent rally. I love how they keep calling them rallies when she had less than 30 people show up. And they're not even counting of the 30 who are her staff. Clearly there was a couple of media there. So maybe she had like 15 people and they were all from the 160 plus year old, depends, geriatrics crowd, so I don't know. I get the feeling Christina Freeland, thank God, will not be in our political zone much longer, regardless who wins, because I don't think she's winning her riding this time. If she's only getting less than 30 people in her riding to show up for her rally, it doesn't look good for her. But anyway, let's start off with that.
We have to have zero tolerance for tax avoidance, for tax evasion, and our government is committed to
a robust and effective regime that will combat money laundering and tax evasion, improve Canadians' trust in the marketplace, and make Canada a leader in corporate transparency.
We've made sure to counter tax evasion by investing more than $500 million to counter tax evasion.
We're investing an additional $520 million over 5 years to tackle tax evasion and improve tax compliance.
That there was an increase of $110 million for measures to crack down and combat tax evasion, tax avoidance.
Our government is firmly committed to combating tax evasion and tax avoidance. We have made investments and we've seen results of those, Madam Speaker, because we want a fair system.
Should Canadians infer from that you wouldn't condemn the use of tax havens?
I'm very strong. I have a long career in the private sector. I have a longer career in the public sector.
So yeah, that one's hilarious. It's the Liberals are claiming that they've been fighting corporate tax evasion. Well, it's become public knowledge now. Even the mainstream media that carry water for Carney have been forced to begrudgingly run stories on this, that Brookfield under Carney has evaded $1 billion in taxes while the Trudeau Liberals were in power. And Carney says this is fine because the pensioners and the nurses, well, they'll pay the taxes for them. Do you buy that? I don't buy that. Pay your damn taxes, buddy. But anyway, yeah, so the Liberals for the last 10 years have been telling you how they're fighting tax corruption. They've been lying. They're lying lefties. They've been lying to you. But that's nothing new. They lie every day. And their new leader, he is the chief liar. He is a pathological liar. So Poilievre has announced that he will be canceling those tax havens and be going after those businesses that avoid paying their taxes. So just another reason to vote for Poilievre, because what could Canada have done with $5 billion more in general revenues? How much better could the country be? Maybe, first off, our healthcare could actually get properly funded, because under Justin Trudeau and Mark Carney, health transfers from the federal Liberals have fallen to 21%. It's supposed to be a 50-50 split according to the Constitution, but under Trudeau and Carney, it's fallen to 21%. So $5 billion would have, I don't know if it would have got him up to 50, but it would have given him a pretty good bump up. But anyway, so yeah, so there you go. Liberals lying again. What else is new? So next up, we have Carney saying there is big advantages to having pipelines from Alberta to the East Coast. Well, here's the problem with Carney. He's a pathological liar. He'll tell you what you want to hear or what he thinks you want to hear. But if you look at his actions, they're always in direct contrast to what he's saying. In the case of the pipeline, first off, he's announced he's not getting rid of the no pipeline bill. So there's going to be no new pipelines built. And Doug Ford in Ontario is not getting his rare earth minerals removed out of the Ring of Fire, because that's what that bill was designed to do, leave resources in the ground. So Carney can tell you he's going to build pipelines, he's going to support development, but his actions already, he's not getting rid of the no pipeline. He's putting on a production tax. He's lying to us. So anyway, you can listen to him lie to you right out of his own mouth.
70% of which comes from the United States. There is a big advantage to Canada to push that out, use our own oil, use the resources from that for other things, including protecting our environments, our social programs as well. But we will only do that in the case where we have the support of First Nations. We have the support of all the provinces.
Okay, I'm going to jump in here. That is a key point. He just installed Stephen Gilbert into Quebec as the Quebec Heritage Minister. Gilbert is on record saying that he will never agree to build a pipeline in Canada. And he's gone as far to say if the Liberals ever try to build a pipeline, he will quit the Liberal Party. So the appointment of him as the Heritage Minister in Quebec is action over words that he has no plans to build pipelines. He's telling the people what he thinks they want to hear, but his actions tell us that there is no pipelines being built under this guy. And don't get it confused. He just bought a $9 billion pipeline with Brookfield in America. He's built pipelines in Saudi and the Middle East. So this good for the environment? No, he's fine with building pipelines and oil and LNG as long as it's not Canada's. He did the same thing to the UK, and the UK is absolutely destroyed over it. They are suffering so badly, and their media is telling us daily to not put this guy in power. And yeah, so you got it right out of his own words here. It has to have Quebec's approval. That's who he's talking about. But he's already put a person in charge to ensure that that approval never comes. Again, you got to look at his actions. This guy is a pathological liar. He will tell you anything he thinks you want to hear to get your vote. Look at his actions, because his actions are what tell you the full story.
Obviously, including Quebec in the example that I gave. And with respect to environmental assessments, yes, we are open to having one project, one review to speed these projects of national interest, but that's because we have confidence in the environmental standards, in this case, of the province of Quebec.
The only confidence he has is that there will be no new pipelines built. This guy is net zero. He did this to the UK. He's going to do it to Canada if you let him. No pipelines, no LNG, no oil, no gas, no rare earth minerals. He wants it all left in the ground. And he doesn't care how much damage it does to the economy. He really doesn't, because he's making millions or billions off of his American pipeline and his Saudi pipeline and his Middle East pipelines. And, he's making more millions and billions off of his coal mines in America, selling coal to China, but we're not allowed to do coal in Canada. No. Again, he's a pathological liar, and it's time for people to wake up on that fact. All right, it's time to talk about the lies of the Liberals on the past decade. This doesn't get talked enough. They have successfully gotten low information voters to focus only on Trump. Notice he never talks about China, but we'll get to China. China's in this video, or in upcoming. But for this, the pure lies coming out of the Liberals on their last decade. Let's look. They say everything's rosy. They say everything's good. They say blah, 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 blah. Vote for us, blah, 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 blah. Vote for us. Don't think. No, don't think. Just vote. Put your X. So let's look at the last decade, the reality of it. All right. So this was posted by Daryl Franco. Why aren't you talking about this stuff? The things that actually make a difference in Canadian lives. Instead, you fixate on how someone sounds or on how their hair looks, but after the election types, you'll try to cancel or shame others who talk about how someone sounds or one looks. Do you not see the disservice as a media reporter you are doing to Canadians? So let's look at the Liberal. How much has crime risen in Canada in the past 10 years? Homicides, 33%. Auto theft, 39%. Much higher here in Edmonton. Theft over $5,000, 49%. Identity theft, 121%. Firearm crimes, 136%. And this one is annoying because, I'm not a gun owner. I've never owned a gun, so it doesn't actually affect me. But the Liberals are focused on taking away legal guns. They have done nothing to stop the flow of illegal guns into Canada. And this number right here, that's all about the illegal guns. Child sexual abuse, 141%. Human trafficking, China, 200 and Mexico, 210%. Extortion, 429%. Child pornography, 565%. That's Source Statistics Canada. That is the Liberal record over the last 10 years of Trudeau and Mark Carney. That's what you're approving of. Violent crime rate in Canada from 2002 to 2023. So we got 2002 here, it was here, and it came down through the Harper years to an all-time low right here. And then at 2015, it started to go up. That's Justin Trudeau. And up and up and up. That is Justin Trudeau. And now they're almost where we were at 2002. Justin Trudeau and Mark Carney. That's their record. That's what you're approving of. All right. Real GDP per capita growth in the OECD. 2015 Q1 to 2024 Q3. Oh, look where Canada is under Justin Trudeau and Mark Carney. But Mark Carney's a businessman. He understands how the global world works. Really? Only Luxembourg is worse than us. We're at 1.4%. I mean, you can't. USA is at 18.2. We're at 1.4%. That's Mark Carney. That's his business acumen right there. Boom. So yeah, this idea that Mark Carney is great on business, no, numbers don't show that. All we see is Canada's gone in the shitter under him. Him and Trudeau, they've destroyed Canada. They really have. And it's going to take, I will not be alive to see Canada dug out of the disaster that was Justin Trudeau and Mark Carney. Like, it took 40 years to undo the damage of Pierre Elliott Trudeau. It's going to take another 50 years to undo the damage of Justin Trudeau. And that's only if we get the government's willing to do it. If you elect Carney, those charts are just going to get worse. So now we'll be looking at 60, 70 years if Canada even survives the 4 years of Carney. Like, you know, the stats don't lie. The CBC lies, CTV lies, Global lies, Globe and Mail lies, Toronto Red Star, well, God, they've been lying for 2 decades now, 3 decades now. Those stats, they don't lie. That is the Carney-Trudeau record. All right, you're wondering about Carney and his prefab homes? Well, it turns out Brookfield is heavily invested in prefab homes. Look at this chart here. Brookfield Asset Management. Dun dun dun. Oh, look, Carney's getting in. Carney got into power. Oh, look, Carney's announcing prefab homes. Oh, gee, wonder how that I wonder if Brookfield knows if Carney gets in, they get the contract for prefab homes. A lie of omission is still a lie. Carney's not telling you, but we all know if he gets into power, it will be Brookfield that gets the prefab home contract. And they know it too. You see it in the stocks. Right there. Boom. Again, the stats don't lie. Here you go. Starts here. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, Carney made the announcement at prefab homes. Look at that grow. Woo, woo. Come on, people. Little bit of common sense and critical thinking. The corruption, it's so bloody obvious. It really is. Yeah, I wonder if the huge bump Brookfield is enjoying is due to Carney's $25 billion modular housing policy announced. Damn right it is. Only an absolute moron doesn't make that connection. All right, for this part, Carney is trying to compare the tariff war that him and Trump created to Vimy Ridge. And to me, that's disgusting. That's absolutely, so many great Canadian heroes gave their lives at Vimy Ridge. And he creates a trade war with Trump. The two of them, they're the same person. So they're battling egos between two billionaire idiots. And he thinks that's the same. To me, that's just the ultimate disgrace. Take a look.
By being extraordinary is how we are going to emerge stronger from the biggest crisis in our lifetimes. You know, today marks an anniversary. Over a century ago, our country came together in a crisis on the battlefield and showed the best that Canada had to offer at Vimy Ridge. We're facing now a different crisis. President Trump is trying to fundamentally restructure the international trading system.
Absolutely unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. But let's be honest, it's all Carney has. Trump, 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 bad, orange man, bad. That's all he's got. He can't win this election on policy because I've shown you is the decade of his and Trudeau's policy. It's disastrous. All he's got is bad, orange man, bad. And he just keeps hammering at it. This is completely unacceptable. And I don't care what your ideology is. You should be pissed that he is degrading our heroes from Vimy Ridge to push his trade war. Like, that should not be allowed, period. But and we're going to finish off with the China story. Carney is telling, I don't know why China likes me. Yeah, that is such a load of crap. So let's take a look. The CBC headline, security officials report a Beijing-linked online operation is targeting Carney. What the article actually says, bots linked to China's Communist Party were actively amplifying Carney's stance on the United States. Why is the media covering up for China's interference? Carney was not targeted. China is aiding Carney. That's That's what's happening. Chinese government boosted Carney posts on popular social media platform. Both posts caught fire at a suspiciously fast pace, bots, garnering an estimated 1 to 3 million views, bots. But what the bots are doing is they're trying to influence the Chinese voters in Canada, because on WeChat, the Canadian Chinese all belong on WeChat, which is the Chinese government funded social media platform, heavily censored. So nothing gets on that platform that isn't approved by the Chinese. But it's the only way for Chinese Canadians to stay in contact with their Chinese relatives that are still in China. So that's, so they go on the WeChat and they get bombarded with this stuff. He took a $250 million loan from China. He called for China to dominate the world economy. He let his MP make threats on China's behalf. He replaced that MP with an openly pro-China candidate. China is actively promoting his campaign. You can see all the sources here. CBC, CP24, CBC, TVO. Those are all massively left-wing sources that have no choice but to report this, because the only time the left-wing will report this is when the evidence is so overwhelming they can't avoid it. The only one, Western Standard's the only one that's not a bought and paid for left-wing outlet in this scenario, in this write-up. Kind of says it all, doesn't it? Yeah, so this is the replacement for the guy that tried to have the Conservative grabbed and taken to the Chinese consulate to be sent over to China to be imprisoned and then killed. So he retired. He resigned once the RCMP opened an investigation into him. This is the guy that Carney picked to replace him. I'm not going to play the video of him singing. It's horrible. But he sings Ballad for China's Communist Party while in uniform. Yeah. Does he look like a Canadian to you? I'm not talking about his ethnicity. I know a lot of really proud Chinese Canadians. He looks like a Chinese communist. Yeah, here we go again. Retired Toronto Deputy Police Chief Peter Ewan, who last year joined the board of an organization flagged for Chinese foreign interference, has been chosen by the Liberals to replace Paul Chang as a candidate. So the Liberals know he's flagged by CSIS, and yet they still appointed him. Election threat watchdog detects Beijing efforts to influence Chinese Canadians on Carney. Again, Globe and Mail, so they're trying to spin words, but it's the Chinese are promoting Carney on WeChat. From the Bureau, retired Toronto police executive who joined Chinese International School flagged in Canada's election interference inquiry replaces Paul Chang as Liberal candidate. All right, so I think I've shown you what a liar he is, the Liberals are, and how corrupted they are, and how compromised they are to China. So I'm just going to leave you with a little ditty that shows the real Mark Carney. Yeah, I know. None of you are going to sleep after seeing that. Anyway, that's the video I have for you today on Lying Lefties. If you like the video, leave a like, a subscribe, and a share. I'm trying to grow my channel, and a like, a subscribe, and a share greatly helps me. And don't ever think I don't appreciate it. I do appreciate people that like, subscribe, and share. I appreciate it greatly. If you dislike the video, leave a dislike. Always feel free to leave a comment. Don't worry, I don't swing my cane too strongly anymore if I dislike your comment. And as always, pew, 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 and shit. Thanks for watching. Bye.